Can you move this? Oh, let's get off here. Here we go, huh? It's going to be in English, so I hope you understand English. Back in 2004, my wife, Gina, and I, and our 3-year-old son decided to pack it all in, and we were going to move to the jungles of Belize. I'm going to give you some advice tonight about how to survive in the jungle. Okay, but the biggest question you might have to ask, are you going to believe a guy in Vienna who speaks no Deutsch, who does not like cold weather, loves to be in the jungle, but he's here? That's your big decision. In 2003, I bought a 20-acre tract of land off the internet, sight unseen. I decided, we were living at the time in a beautiful one-room apartment overlooking the Gürtel, and each day I would daydream about hammocks and sunshine and good rum, and I decided, well, I've got to go. I've got to get out of there, and so I bought the land over the internet, but one thing I'd learned a few years prior in Honduras, you got to make sure that you have a good lawyer. I would sit there and design my jungle camp, and I came up with a design that I later built down there. But the one thing I want to give you advice is, if you're going to buy something sight unseen on the internet, get yourself a good lawyer, make sure the lawyer checks it out, make sure that you understand who the seller is. This is my good friend Roy. Roy Smith lives in a small town in western Belize called San Ignacio. I gave him a couple $100 several years prior for him to build a couple of cabanas in his yard to rent out to tourists that were coming through the area. So I cut a deal with Roy, and he decided to come down and he was going to build me a tropical hut in the rainforest. He came down there with 2 guys, but the problem is that Roy has never lived in the jungle. Roy didn't like the food that I provided him, and so after 3 days of working, Roy packed it up, took his 2 guys, they left. Rule number 1, advice there, never pay a guy in advance, and don't hire a city guy to build you a jungle champa. As you can tell here, I had to turn to the only other people I knew down there, Miss Parham. She sold me the land, and of course, by this time, she was all upset. She felt like she had sold it to me too cheap. So I got her boyfriend, Paul, and Paul and 2 of his brothers, they went ahead and finished building the champa. But by the time they put the leaves up there, it started to rain. And so we had to put this blue tarp up there, so every time it would rain hard, we'd have to get a broomstick and knock the water out. Well, the advice I can give you here is, if you're going to hire a coolie to build you a champa in the jungle, remember, it's going to rain a lot because it's a rainforest. Up the street from the house was a lady named Flo, and she had a cool spot, Flo's Bar. That's where you could get cold beer, spend the afternoons talking away. She had a son named Byron Lee. And Byron Lee built us a picnic table and a bed. And then we had Pook, her cousin, who gave us a pig that we cooked for my 50th birthday party. Mr. Trapp came up with his crew, came with the banjo. We had a party, partied all night long, cut a deal with Mr. Trapp. Mr. Trapp said he's going to go and build us Camp 2. So Mr. Trapp didn't get the house built too quickly. We ran into troubles. A big poisonous snake moved in. She set up a nest, had babies. There we were, stuck in the jungle, little kid, babies, snakes. The advice I give you there is never, ever, ever putting your roof on your house. In order to live in the jungle, you got very few options about water. So what we decided to do, you had 2. You could either get a private truck to come do it, or you get the government truck to bring in and drill the well. Well, they came in and did it. We had to get it approved by a man named Mr. Marcel Mest. He was a government minister, and he had told us that in order to do it, he could also give us some poles to build for our front porch. And so, what advice can I give you there? Never, ever trust a politician when it comes to drilling a well. And if he tells you that the poles are going to be straight, don't believe him. Also, if a boy named Byron Lee comes to you who has a mama named Flo and says, well, you still owe me for the bed and the champa, well, you should have paid him. That way he won't steal the water pump from your well. One afternoon in June, we were sitting on the front porch, and off in the distance, there came a big dark cloud. Well, we figured it was not the weather. It was a bunch of flying worms. And they arrived, and it was too late. They ate everything through. They ate the poles of Mr. Mess. The next day, we had a neighbor who came. Our closest neighbors were Mayan. They came up, and the son said, look, my sister-in-law just had a baby. There's been complications. We got to go get the ambulance. Well, we called the ambulance. He wanted to borrow $100. The ambulance came, never came. So they asked me, can you drive us to the hospital? So I drove him to the hospital. Next week, I said, how about my $100? He said, well, we needed it for the ambulance. And I said, but I drove you to the hospital. He said, yeah, but we had to celebrate the birth. These two guys are Melvin and Lionel, and they live down the street in a concrete building with no electricity. Everybody in the village told me these were the biggest thieves down there. So I hired them to do the work that Mr. Trapp had never finished. Melvin never spoke, but one day he arrived with a small bag with some little stuffed animals and gave them to me and said, for Charlie. Lionel, I gave him a chainsaw, and the deal was he would be able to use the chainsaw to cut wood to make money for other people, but he had to give it back to me each week. That way, he and Melvin wouldn't go out, sell the chainsaw, and drink it away. Last time I saw him, I bailed him out of jail. Last time I saw Melvin, the police were looking for him for a murder. And as far as their uncle, Uncle Tito, he got run over at a roadway coming home on Easter Sunday with some eggs. Taat, Paal is what we call a jungle house. When we left, it became Taat, Paal. 4 of us. I'll leave you with one thing. South African explorer Mike Horn said, your reality should be better than your dreams. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Julian.